Thank you so much. I think the previous speaker set us up beautifully by bringing in all the various nuances that define offline and the D2C worlds. And what I wanted to talk about today for the first 7 to 10 minutes is from a technology perspective, right? All of these processes, the digital first brands, of course, and also the traditional established brick and mortar retail, technology is really shaping the business processes for both of these two sides of the same coin. So share a little bit in terms of my experiences of working with companies who are leaders, disruptors in these spaces, and then bring in two experts from the industry to share their views in terms of how they are seeing these two worlds coming together. Right, so with that, let's get started. The primary reason why we are seeing this big convergence of the D2C space and the traditional established retail space is a quest for growth, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about the dynamics of that. So if you see in terms of the expected growth in the industry, retail of course is the overarching industry where both the D2C brands play, and of course we have the consumer companies also reaching out to the market through various retail channels. And this is one of the anchoring industry, not just for India, but for all the emerging markets in Asia as well. And as per various industry estimates, we believe that physical retail, physical presence of brands is going to continue to be a significant area as far as the retail industry is concerned. And that is also established through the physical presence expansion plans that we see for a lot of established retailers, whether it is companies like D-Mart, Aditya Birla Fashion Retail, Titan, Tanishq, Westside, etc. All of these established retailers, leaders in their own spaces have very, very aggressive expansion plans. And now many digital first brands who started in the digital space first also have significant plans of creating physical presence. And I've just put in some names here based on the work that we do as SAP in terms of working as technology and technology-enabled business process transformation strategy work that we do as SAP with some of these customers. And most of these brands are getting into the physical space post-iterative product market fit has been established, and the brand is recognized to some extent is when they start actually foraying into becoming truly omnichannel in nature. And while we will talk a little bit about, while in my presentation I'll talk a little bit about what are some of the drivers, we will dive deep into what really are the needs that are driving, both the physical brick and mortar retailers and the digital retailers to move into the true omnichannel space. And just to set us up, some of the reasons why WakeFit has been one of the early adopters of SAP technology right from their very early stage when they did not have a significant omnichannel presence. But the strategy that they wanted to adopt was in terms of keeping online for brand discovery, which our previous speaker was also talking quite a lot about, and also to offer the endless aisle, a huge array of choices to consumers in the online space, and really transforming the offline space into being true spaces where there is deep engagement with consumers, where consumers can touch and feel what the products stand for, and also have an experience of the product quality firsthand. Right? So with that, if I were to summarize, right, for the established consumer brands, again, quest for growth is a primary driver of this convergence. In addition, Growing the brand mindshare with digitally savvy consumers is another key driver. Established retail channels, they are complementing their brick and mortar store presence with online store fronts, again offering convenience, discoverability, choice, and also again the quest for driving growth. In addition, the emergence of digital marketplaces, and Amazon was discussed quite a lot previously. In addition to that, there is Flipkart as well. So a lot of the digital brands, the digital first brands are being able to reach out to newer market segments using these established digital platforms as well, and being able to scale up very quickly, right? So, so that's another of the trends that we are observing that technology is again enabling. And of course, from the digital first brand perspective, new category expansion, expansion into newer markets, especially newer geographies, is something that we see as the driver for them foraying into becoming true omnichannel players. And this is just to just to show how complex this can be, and we will talk a little bit about this in our conversation with some of the experts from the industry. But primarily, what we need to understand is with multiple routes to market, the complexity in terms of your product strategy, pricing, promotion management, supply chain, inventory optimization, and logistics, right? So these are some of the primary areas that where the order of complexity significantly increases, whether you are an established brick and mortar retailer foraying into online, or you are a digital first brand and trying to create an omni-channel presence. This graphic actually truly represents the various kinds of interactions that can happen across these multiple channels, right? And so, but at the end of the day, you are servicing a demanding consumer, a digitally connected consumer. So how do you truly balance the unit economics of your business, the cost to serve your customer, the inventory management and holding costs with offering lower fulfillment lead times? Do you decide to, where do you decide to hold your inventory, to ensure that you are being able to adhere to a 12-month or even a quick commerce delivery lead time at still a cost that gives you profitability? While traditionally retail has been, and especially things like grocery retail have been, the margins have always been, not significantly high, but what we see is there is a significant potential of optimization of this entire value chain in the omnichannel world, leveraging data, technology, the power of platforms to be able to drive better margin structure, which the previous speaker also alluded to. So for example, the 20% margin to Amazon, if you have to provide that to Amazon, or if you have to provide certain amount of margin to your dealer, distributor, and then finally the end retailer. So what should be your cost? How much of your product should you manufacture, or where do you source it from? So those are again essential aspects of being a true leader in establishing the market-defining unit economics in this space. Right, so how do we thrive in a channel-less world? Of course, now, irrespective of whether you are a digital-first brand or you are an established consumer brand or you are a retailer, digital is part of every single business process. And I mentioned some of these core business processes before. And direct to consumer just becomes one of the channels. And increasingly what we are seeing is, while for some of the established brands, digital channels continue to be the fastest channels where they are seeing revenue growth. Whereas for many of the digital first brands, they are, at least the mature ones, are moving towards a parity in terms of the revenue that they are seeing come from the trade channels, the digital marketplaces, and the D2C channels. While, a few years before, like for 3 to 5 years back, 70 to 80% of their revenue might be coming from the digital channels, but that is not true anymore. For many of the established consumer brands, there is increasing parity in terms of the revenue coming from these various channels, right? So it is absolutely essential to look at the overall business so that we are functioning or ready to function in this true omnichannel world. So let us talk about some of the, the challenges that we at least see, that we continuously work with customers on. So one of the key areas is, of course, to ensure channel-wise pricing and come up with promotion strategies that are aligned to that specific channel, right? And some of this comes from the product strategy as well that you might have established for that channel. The product, merchandise, assortment, category strategies continue to vary depending on the channel, and having a revenue plan for your channel strategy, your revenue growth strategy that you have defined for that channel, those are again all important drivers of the pricing and promotion strategy. Then, of course, the inventory management in our bid to offer more choice to our customers. Are we having a long tail of inventory? What are the level of markdowns? What is the level of obsolescence that we see? And in the world of quick commerce, where product content is not that important any longer, availability is the most important factor. What are the categories for which the inventory levels need to be defined adequately and appropriately? A lot of data, a lot of predictive and forecasting capabilities are necessary to be able to come up with these right stocking inventory levels. So for that, planning cannot be static. Planning cannot be done only at certain periods of time. It needs to be a continuous process, and one needs to always keep an eye on the emerging trends of the market, including very, very micro demographic and seasonality factors as well that need to be plugged into the, the forecasting and the planning models to be able to really have a handle on the demand, which is going to drive the rest of your business operations. I already mentioned about having a low tail of inventory, but also as this becomes more distributed in nature, both from a inventory storage perspective, or you have a larger feet on street to really engage with your trade channels. What is the, how much time are we really spending in terms of really trying to understand what are the SKUs that are really selling? What are my promotions that are really working and which are the ones that are not working, right? So being able to understand all of this information, capture that and plug that back into the planning process can really help in making the entire value chain much more effective and efficient. Similarly, from a just a transaction management perspective, returns are going to be a reality. While a lot of companies are trying to manage the return process, but we are seeing with different types of financial instruments being used to buy products and returns, the entire load on business application systems, whether from the returns management process or financial settlement process and financial reconciliation process becomes much more complex, right? How do I make provisions for these returns becomes another important area that many of the omnichannel retailers are trying to put some certain business rules around and policies around. Logistics, planning, fulfillment continues to be another area where technology plays a key role in terms of being able to optimize this to a significant extent. Not just from a logistics perspective and a supply chain perspective and sourcing perspective, we will continue to engage with a lot of ecosystem partners. How do I share data with them through collaborative networks? How do I get much more timely visibility into whether a manufacturer has the ability to fulfill my demand, or in terms of the overall end consumer's experience of the delivery, of the way the delivery or the fulfillment process has been handled, right? So all of that is significantly dependent on data and information sharing capabilities beyond the walls of your organization, right? So again, there is that area where technology continues to play a key role, with the overall goal also to look at, while cost to serve is increasing and that is impacting margins and profitability, how do I have a granular visibility into my cost to serve so that I'm able to manage this better? So these are some of the pain areas, that we see typically working with customers, and the strategic priorities continue to be the 4 or 5 areas that I have indicated in this slide. So one is the most important driver of designing any business process for the true omnichannel world is to be able to orchestrate customer journeys seamlessly between the online and offline channels, right? So that is the core that is driving any business process design. And increasingly, online is where your brand is discovered, and the store becomes an experience center for not just your brand, but also other synergistic categories. So that is point number one. Point number two, personalization, but at scales. For that, you need a lot of data. You need a lot of understanding of granular costs to be able to deliver personalized promotion and pricing, or personalized bundles of products and services, right? The third area is choice. There can be so many different combinations of products, services, channels, etc., that you can offer to your customers, right? How are you able to do that in an omnichannel environment? So that's the third pillar. And then, of course, the final pillar is the fulfillment experience. The promise that you are making for the brand at the first point of discovery. Fulfillment excellence or supply network orchestration excellence really is able to deliver on that brand promise. So this requires a lot of focus. What we see remains on creating a beautiful storefront, or great engaging content on social media platforms, or a lot of product information, informative videos that customers may be consuming on demand, through your front end channels. But what is also essential is to ensure that there is a full integration back to your operational data, whether it is in terms of your product master data, your sales data, through which you're able to gain a lot of insights into customer buying behavior. How is the service experience been after somebody has bought your product? What kind of complaints are happening? What are some of the failures that are happening for your product? What kind of quality related complaints are coming in? Are you able to make sense of this post-purchase data and tailor your business operations based on the insights that you're generating from once a customer has already bought your product, right? So these are again some of the data categories that can really help in driving some of the KPIs, such as, of course, growth, sales, cost to serve, AOV, maximizing customer lifetime value, etc., right? So this integration between the storefront, the promise that you're making through your storefront to the rest of the operations of the company is what is essential in this converged world. Right, so some of the important technology elements, so when you are putting together the technology stack, the tech stack, right, for a true omnichannel organization, of course, it starts with the storefront or the commerce platform. All of this is supported with a single integrated platform to manage your customer data. And especially in today's world where data privacy and consent is important, managing consent, being able to track a customer from where she or he is not even a customer, is just browsing data to the service-related data, closing this entire loop. That becomes important, and for that, an integrated customer profile management platform is absolutely essential. This is followed. This needs to be complemented or extended with customer data analytics, and of course today with AI, recommendation engines are becoming ultra powerful, and co-pilots based buying process can be supercharged with some of the customer analytics that is possible with this end-to-end buying data. Then of course supply chain planning and logistics execution are the two other again enabling pillars for this. So this is absolutely what is essential from the key technology pillars to operate effectively in an omni-channel world. And some of the areas where SAP, and this is the only slide where I'm going to talk a little bit about what SAP is doing as a leader in this space. Of course, there's a lot of investment that is going on in creating a beautiful commerce storefront that works in B2B, B2C, B2B2C sort of modes. It can support headless or headless commerce as well. And you can create multi-brand storefronts using a single platform. The customer, how do you orchestrate the digital customer journey through various AI and process automation and intelligence-driven triggers at various points of the digital customer journey is another big focus area for us. Customer data platform, again, as I mentioned, creating the customer profile, managing consent, being able to personalize the communication and customer engagement at various touch points. So these are all, again, supported through a unified customer data management platform. There continues to be a lot of focus in terms of ensuring that the stores are perfect. In terms of, when a customer walks into the store, you're able to identify the customer across the digital channels or from the customer data profile, and you're able to deliver a personalized experience for the customer in the storefront as well. This is also supported with buy online, pick up from store, sort of models of fulfillment as well. Right, so that is another big area where SAP continues to invest and focus on. And then on top of this, ensuring that there is a end-to-end planning platform that supports, revenue growth, promotion, pricing, profitability strategy across various different channels. And again, when we talk about various channels, we talk about dealer distributor, which is basically the general trade channel, the modern trade, digital marketplaces, D2C, and even van sales as well, right? So these are the various channels that we consider when we talk about omni-channel. And how do you manage and plan across all of these channels is another area where there is a lot of investment is going on from a technology perspective. So that is what I had to share. This is more of the same thing. So with that, what I wanted to do now is to invite my two panelists on stage. The first panelist I would like to invite on stage is Akash Agrawal. He's the co-founder of ZOFF. Please, Akash, please come and take your seat. And the other panelist we have today with us is Vinod Kapote. He's the head of IT and digital transformation at Trent. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me. Right, thank you again. And with that, I just wanted to set the context. We will keep this a little bit more focused on technology. With that, let's get started. We'll start with you, Akash. You come from the digital-first brand world, right? So from your perspective, how do you see the convergence that is happening between the, the online and the physical world of retailing, and what has been your strategy in terms of trying to address this convergence?
I think before COVID, online era started, but after COVID, I think we are in 2024 and we are talking about physical era. So we started as e-commerce brand, but now looking at the offline requirement and how the things are changing, it has become important to be available everywhere, to robust our supply chain management, to see the customer which we are getting from e-commerce, how they are involved in physical buying. Then the technology which you are using, like you showed SAP working on that. But I think it is very much important. Before COVID, I think so many startups were working on the technology related to D2C. So yeah, but now I was talking about the technology, and I think it has become very important. Earlier everyone was working towards the D2C thing, but now I think this is an opportunity also that whosoever comes with a good tool or good technology related to omnichannel, which can solve the problem related to customer experience, technology integration. So I think this will play a very important role. And we have just started our offline journey. We just raised our fund 10, 15 days back, and I think that was for the purpose of offline growth. And I think all these things will be required from technology to customer experience, because there should be an experience for the customer who are buying online and who are buying offline in terms of pricing strategy, in terms of logistics. So I think so much to do, I think, in this fiscal era. And this is just the beginning, and I can see like 4, 5 years down the line as quick commerce will grow. I think this will be a common term that you are selling online, you are selling offline. So yeah, we have started our part, and so many things will be required in that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Akash. Vishal, again. Vinod, sorry, my apologies. Vinod, again, coming from, Trent, and Trent has been a category leader in many cases, for the categories that you are present in, coming from the physical world, right? How has your journey been into becoming an omnichannel company?
So our journey is primarily determined by the fact that the customer expectations are changing, right? Customer is now expecting us to understand her from an offline perspective as well as with an online perspective both. And that actually is driving the entire omni-channel behavior for us. Now, obviously, the channels don't matter to the customer anymore. The method of approaching her to her doesn't matter to her anymore. All she's interested is to know how is she being serviced and what is the experience that she gets. And whether it is an online experience or an offline experience in our stores, she actually forms a view bringing everything together. So that customer expectation is driving everything for us to start with. In addition to that, Sudakshina, what is also happening is there are these new generation of digital natives that are now there, the Gen Zs, the Gen Ys, the Gen Zs, whatever we call them, different eras of people who are coming in, and they have a certain expectation from a brand. They do realize that there is something that a brand stands for, and they want to experience that when they are shopping with you or they're experiencing you. Forget shopping. Shopping is a culmination of an experience, but they want to experience that from you. So that is another behavior that we are seeing more and more the customers are bringing to the table for us, and we're trying to cater to that. And the third one, if you ask me, is the fact that there are so many new technologies that the customer in her own personal space she is exposed to. So she's expecting that if the technology, like a simple mobile phone is at a level where the technology can really, whatever she's seeing on the phone can actually be converted into an actual action. Now, if that is a kind of experience that she's getting on a simple mobile phone, which was originally a communication device only, she expects brands like us, backed by our group, obviously, to actually have a far better and matured technology experience that we can bring to her. And that's what is another factor that is also playing with us in terms of how to convert the experience for our customers, but driven all through customer expectations.
Vinod, I love the fact that you only refer to your consumer as she, right? And also your point that, that shopping is an end result. It is driven by just the overall brand experience, and also, the expectation that a consumer will anyways have when she's engaging with a brand such as Trend, right? Across various different categories. So coming back to, again, you in terms of, so how does your product, merchandise, category assortment management approaches, the pricing and promotion approaches change or vary, or what are some of the essential planning parameters that you look at when you are looking at, the physical, the trade versus, the digital channels?
So, Sudakshina, there are certain choices and discipline that we adhere to as a brand. And these choices are non-negotiable. The first and foremost is we will only do private label and never sell anyone else's brand in my fashion apparel business. That is a choice that was made right at the start of the organization way back 25 years back. And that is a choice and discipline that we have adhered to. Having said that, there are choices and disciplines that we have also agreed upon on what should be done online versus what should be done in a brick and mortar store. One of them is saying that I will never price a product differently online versus a brick and mortar store. So all my products that are there on westside.com today are exactly the same price across India in any brick and mortar store as compared to an online store also. We don't want the customer to feel cheated that, oh, I would have probably gone online and got this 100 rupees
The
cheaper.
deal-seeking behavior,
Yeah.
right, which drives many of us to online
Exactly.
buying. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's a behavior that the customer is used to find it online and see whether she gets it cheaper. But we want to make sure that our first price is the right price. And if that is what is achieved, then it doesn't matter what price it is. And I think the earlier speaker was talking about value. Again, value is not necessarily something that you can give at a cheaper price, right? Value is something that you can sell a 3,000 rupee product, but the customer should feel that, yes, this is definitely valued at 3,000, it is worth rupees 3,000. And that is what the focus is, with the fact that the product and pricing strategy is such that we get the first price as the right price. And if that is true, it doesn't matter whether the price is online or offline, the customer will buy it from you. So that's on the pricing part of it. On the inventory planning, again, we follow a very simple rule of having omnichannel inventory, where we don't, and this is something which is counterintuitive again, we don't do separate e-com inventory at all. Our logic is we present it in front of our customers, whether the customer sees it in my store or she sees it online, and whoever places the order with me, I will give it to her first. It is as simple as that. And that actually helps because it essentially means that we are not carrying or earmarking inventory separately, carrying that load over a period of time, carrying that inventory over seasons. We are one of the few retailers who eventually clean off every season after every end of season sale and start with a completely fresh merchandise every 6 months after every season. So it really helps. These choices and disciplines that we have formed and adhere to actually makes the experience for the customer very, very uniform, makes her feel that we are not differentiating her whether she's coming from a channel of online or directly visiting my store. Eventually, an offline customer graduates into online or an online customer graduating into a brick and mortar store, the experience remains the same.
Great insights, Vinod. I definitely picked up quite a few points from there. The private label focus strategy, which helps in, again, shoring up the brand. The fact that, your inventory management practices have been significantly streamlined. And the value point that you also brought out in terms of, is it really determined only by the price and the discount? Or the overall experience, the product quality, the ownership experience for the product, right? A lot of those are also contributors to value, and the seasonal approach that you brought in, especially for fast-moving industry in fashion and apparel, that is also, again, a very important element. And the fact that you're able to achieve that balance is, I think, one of the main differentiators of the trend model. Coming to you, Akash, what are your thoughts on these areas?
Yeah, so in our case, it's a bit different because ours is FMCG product and we are selling through various e-commerce and quick commerce through inventory model. And the general trade price is different from what they are selling because the inventory is under their control and sometimes, they come up with a higher discount. So it's become challenging for us also, to control that. But yeah, going ahead, looking at this price difference thing, and I think when consumer sees this difference, I think that's create a very negative impact. So even we are working on it, trying to give the consumer at a not exactly the same price because that's not under our control, but yeah, at a similar price, trying to pass on the discount through retailers. So that will be our strategy going ahead, to come out of this price differential thing. In terms of inventory, because it's FMCG product, we also don't have any different line for e-commerce and the offline model. It's the same, and that gives us an added advantage also. We can keep our inventory, we can forecast in a better way, so that wherever is required, whether it's online or offline, we can send it from the same warehouses. So I think in electronics or maybe category like this, they have to maintain different inventories and SKUs. But in FMCG, I think it's not required. It's just about managing this with a proper inventory model, and I think you can supply to both the channels.
Thanks, Akash. So some of the key takeaways from your points are, of course, again, the inventory management approach being streamlined, and of course, the margin focus given the various different channels that you're operating in. So given the fact that, we have a little bit of time constraint, Vinod, why don't you summarize in terms of to thrive in this, whether you call it channel-less world or omni-channel world, what are the absolute essentials, the top 3 points? And also if you can bring in a little bit of your perspective in terms of how does sustainability play a role? Because in fashion apparel, carbon footprint or, that is also something that will perhaps define consumer buying behavior in future.
On the top 3 takeaways, if you ask me, the first and foremost is data. How do you manage your data? How do you make sense out of your data? And how are you reading the data and its insights out of it is very, very important, because eventually that's how the actual behavior can be understood. I mean, if you ask a customer, she would say 10 different things, but she would behave differently on an online when inside of a store, but she would never call that out, right, as a survey. But the data is actually the one that can actually give you a lot of insights. So the first one is data. The second important one is the technology and its integration. If you don't have a technology which is sustainable in terms of looking at the scaling up of the growth that you are aiming for, and spikes that you see in your omni-channel behavior, it is a bad experience to a customer, and she is not going to come back to you. So that's very, very important that you have a very, very good, scalable, flexible technology in place which will address your problems. And the third one, I think, is the fact that the customer behavior in terms of how she is behaving, again, a subset of data itself, frankly, but how she is behaving and how she is eventually changing her habits over a period of time, because it's never that you would buy something always which is in trend, which you would end up buying over a period of time. There is always a trend. Like there was a trend of cargos a few months back. Now there is, and I'm talking about girls here, there is a trend on pleated skirts right now, and so on and so forth, right? And people keep on changing their behaviors from a cargo to a pleated skirt. It's a different product altogether, but the same customer is going to buy both. So it's not necessarily always that history is going to be the right response to your customer understanding. To answer your sustainable behavior of fashion apparel industry, sustainability is definitely on the minds, definitely being taken up, and there are one of the biggest culprits on sustainability, according to us, if you ask me, is returns. Right? You sell, and in fashion apparel, the returns are as high as about 30-35%. You sell something to a customer, and about 30% of it is coming back, and the entire coming back journey is non-value added journey, because there is nothing that you are going to do with it. It just comes back and sits back with you, and most of the time, if it is apparel, it is either tried or used, and maybe 50% of the times not usable or sellable for that matter. So it is very, very important that we address that first, and we've tried some methods to ensure that the returns are lower. Like, for example, on our website, Wellbeing.com, there is at the time of placing the order itself, there is a Go Green initiative, as we call it. We ask the customer that you please give up your capability of doing a returns online, and I will give you an additional 5% discount. And a lot of customers actually opt for it, and you can come to my store and return, and there will be no questions asked at that point in time. So it helps on reducing the entire returns back chain that was working on, and eventually helping the reduction in the overall, because there is someone who's going to pick it up, there is some travel that someone will do, spend some money on the petrol, diesel, whatever they are using for. All of that money is saved and can be given back to the customer as a better price again. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Vinod. I think excellent insights, and I'm sure there are a lot of takeaways for the audience here. Akash, a quick summary from your side.
The first important is like data, because there'll be so much data like when customers buying online and offline. So with the help of AI and with a unified data, I think that will help us in giving the consumer what they want. The planning can be done in that way. Secondly, will be the customer-centric approach, because customer can buy from anywhere they want. It's their behavior, it's their choice. So that should be taken care of. Third, embrace agility, because everything is changing at a very fast pace, and we need to be with time. Whatever is required at that moment, we need to follow that. Maybe every 3 months, every 6 months, there'll be some new things coming up, and we should take that in that way. So I think these are the key takeaways.
Thank you so much, Vinod and Akash. I think I learned a lot, and I'm sure most of the audience members will have a lot of takeaways, from you in terms of how to thrive in this world where there is a huge convergence of physical and the digital channels. Thank you so much.